Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well today. My name is Brad Cartwright and the following video is a free preview from bradcartwright.com, a website designed for IB economics students all around the world so that you know you will have all of the information you need to feel empowered for a unit test, a semester exam, or ultimately the IB exam at the end of your 2-year journey. So take a look at the website when you get a chance, and in the meantime, enjoy this free preview. Okay, now let's take a look at something that's really important all the way through our 2-year journey through IB economics. Okay, remember this about the IB, and we're just at the beginning of our studies, so I don't want this video to be overwhelming in any way whatsoever, because the coolest thing about the IB is they invite all of us, you and me and all students taking IB economics, into the discussion about how to interpret real life situations using economic theory. But in between the real life situations and the economic theory, you want you to think about these 9 concepts, because these 9 concepts, and we'll use different, they'll rotate around. Sometimes you'll use 2, sometimes you only use 1, maybe 4 sometimes, but they're like a lens through which you look at the real life situation, okay? Because ultimately, and this is something that's really important for you to understand, economics is human behavior. It's the way you behave and it's the way I behave, and we are on a planet set in time, and our economic decisions affect other people. They're not isolated in these little things, right? Economic growth creates environmental degradation. That is a known fact. So what about sustainability? What about choice? What about our well-being? What about equity? What about the kinds of things that are the human part of economics? Well, you as an IB student are invited to take a look at real life situations made by real governments right now in this world, but through a lens that we are going to look at right now. So these are really important concepts for you to understand. Now I'm going to introduce them to you right now, and throughout this your whole course of study, they're going to loop back. So don't worry too much about getting all the information in your head, and oh my gosh. The worst thing you can do in economics is get overwhelmed, okay? The concepts themselves are actually quite simple. Getting a full understanding of how to use them, well, that's where the work is that we need to do, okay? So let's just take a look at the 9 concepts, okay? They are scarcity, choice, efficiency, equity, economic well-being, sustainability, change, interdependence, and intervention, okay? Scarcity, choice, efficiency, equity, economic well-being, sustainability, change, interdependence, and intervention, okay? Now we're going to go through each one of those. Again, I just want to share with you what they mean, and this comes to us right from the IB. I took this right from the IB economics syllabus put out by the IB. So this is as sound of information as we could possibly get. Okay, first one, here we go. Scarcity. Scarcity refers to the limited availability of economic resources relative to society's unlimited demand for goods and services. Okay? This is a thing that we're going to get into all throughout our studies of economics. Things are scarce. And economics is the study of how to make the best possible use of scarce or limited resources to satisfy what we all know is true, which are our unlimited human needs and wants. And you know that because you probably have a really nice pair of shoes on there, but you might want another pair of shoes, okay? But scarcity is an underpinning of all of economics, and it's one of the lenses through which we're going to look at all real life situations. Scarcity, number 1. Number 2 is choice. Let's take a look at choice. Since resources are scarce, that's building on the other one. Economics is a study of choices. Not all needs and wants can be satisfied, go with the logic, and therefore this necessitates choice and gives rise to the idea of opportunity cost. Economic decision makers continually make choices between competing alternatives, and economics studies the consequences of these choices, both present right now and in the future. Okay? So understanding choice in economics is pretty simple, right? You go to the mall and you got a bunch of choices to make. And the reason they cost something is that they are scarce. So anything that is scarce, which by the way are all things, all goods and services are inherently scarce besides like air, right? But that's becoming, maybe that's becoming scarce. Good, fresh air is becoming scarce, which maybe taps into sustainability in a second. But choice is the things that we do that economists study. So when we're studying economics, we're studying ourselves, right? For sure, because we go to the store, we make choices, things are scarce and therefore they have prices. Okay? Which is why, like, you know, like old paintings, like famous paintings by Van Gogh or whatever, like they go up in price because there's only a certain amount of them and they become more and more scarce over time. Okay? Cool. So choice is number 2. The next one is efficiency. Now, efficiency in economics is going to take you some time to get your brain around, okay? And some of the language here can be a little bit overwhelming, and I don't want you to think that way. Just go like, okay, I can understand efficient. If something's efficient, you know, being efficient is better than being inefficient, okay? So if we look at the word efficient or efficiency in economics, what we understand is that this is the way in which it should be done or could be done that would be better than doing it some other way. Okay, so the technical terms or the technical definition of this, this central concept of our studies of IB economics, and efficiency is a quantifiable concept determined by the ratio of useful output to total input. Okay, so input is what it takes to make something, output is what you produce. Okay, so if you make pizzas, your inputs are cheese, tomatoes, and dough. The output is the pizza. So efficiency studies the difference between that input, the total input, and the output, which would be the pizza itself. Okay? Cool. So big term here, don't let it stress you out. First time through your brain, let's just go with it, okay? Allocative efficiency, big term, refers to making the best possible use of scarce resources to produce the combinations of goods and services that are optimum for society, thus minimizing resource waste, okay? Allocative efficiency is a huge concept in microeconomics. We'll get into it later on. Don't worry about it. But it's through this lens of efficiency that we are going to look at real life situations. We're going to go, are the resources allocated most efficient in this overall economy, okay? That is lens number 3, okay? Lens number 4 is equity, okay? In contrast to equality, which we've described situations where economic outcomes are similar for different people or different social groups, equity refers to the concept of or idea of fairness. Fairness is a normative concept, which means a relative concept, as it means different things to different people. In economics, inequity is often interpreted to refer to inequality, which may apply to the distribution of income, wealth, or human opportunity. I like to tell students equity is about the ability to have opportunities. And there's a notion about governments trying to be equitable to their citizens, but equitable means that everybody gets a fair chance. That's why there's public school, that's why there are public health systems, right? So that everybody has a chance to get educated. If they can't pay for it, the government will provide it for them. That means that everybody, in theory, has an equitable chance at succeeding or having all of the opportunities they can have in life. Okay. So, irrespective of economic system, inequity or inequality remain significant issues both within and between societies. The degree to which markets versus governments should or are able to create greater equity or equality in an economy is an idea of much debate. Equity is the thing and the discussion of it that blows up the dinner table when you're sitting there with your parents or your grandparents or whomever, right? Equity is a very much politicized perspective on things, okay? Cool, equity. Now, economic well-being. This one's kind of straightforward. Like, what about the well-being of people in society? This is, remember, one of the 9 central concepts. It's a lens through which we're going to look at a real-life situation, okay? Economic well-being is multidimensional. It's a multidimensional concept relating to the level of prosperity and quality of living standards enjoyed by members of an economy. It includes things such as present and future financial security. It includes the ability to meet basic needs. It includes the ability to make economic choices permitting achievement of personal satisfaction. Economic well-being includes the ability to maintain adequate income levels over the long term, okay? There are broad disparities in economic well-being both within and across nations. And this is something that's really important. And when we get into understanding the long-term like evolution of economic thought, which is the next unit, what you'll see is that economists over time have evolved greatly from just looking at the cold hard numbers to seeing like, wait a minute, you know, economic systems create real human misery for some people and extreme wealth for others. And like, how do we bring all of that together? And if we're the government, which is the overarching like parent of society, like how do we manage people still getting wealthy? Because that's good, but not at the expense of people like living in utter despair, right? And so that's where the government gets involved, just to like make sure that everybody has the same level of economic well-being. And of course, based on countries' histories and their past and whether they were colonies or dominators or whatever the choices were made before, this is very different given in the modern world because of different like events that have happened historically for a country, okay? So economic well-being, cool. Now the one you probably understand more than the rest, or I don't know, maybe I shouldn't judge what you know and don't know, but sustainability is a huge concept, right? And in economics, sustainability means exactly what you think it means. There's no change. And that's one of the things that I want to say as you go through your studies of economics. Like, sometimes be careful with the terms because you might think you understand them, but actually they're more complex than you thought, or they're like have a completely different connotation in economics than they would in regular life, okay? But sustainability, not so much, okay? So sustainability in economics refers to the ability of the present generation to meet its needs, so us to meet our needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And you hear politicians talk about this all the time, you know, like, we have the responsibility to steward this world so that our children can have, no, that's sustainability governed or spoken of in some sort of different type of language, okay? So it refers to limiting the degree to which the current generation's economic activities create harmful environmental outcomes involving resource depletion, using them up, or degradation, or just making them worse, like the oceans, that will negatively affect future generations, okay? So cutting down trees, depletion. Degradation, you know, massive, huge plastic islands floating out in the Pacific Ocean. That's making the Pacific Ocean less possible to flourish, right? Degradation, okay? Sustainability is proving increasingly important in all economic analyses as planetary boundaries are pushed to the limit. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be that smart in Santiago to go outside and take a look at the air to know that the economic well-being of Chile, this is a pretty well-developed nation, is at the expense of the air quality. Because Santiago is in a basin and all of the emissions from cars and the industry in Santiago only goes up to a certain height. And because there's literally walls of mountains all around Santiago, there's this phenomenon called subduction, and the air never leaves, okay? So sustainability, huge concept, one of the 9 central concepts of your studies throughout all of economics, okay? Change, another lens, looking at, okay, so here's an economic situation. Now, what does this concept of change tell us about our analysis or evaluation of a particular economic reality? Okay, so what's change? Change is an understanding of the concept, or an understanding of the concept of change is essential in economics. The economic world is in continual flux, and economists must be aware of this and adapt their thinking accordingly. The concept of change is important both in economic theory and in the empirical world that economics studies. In economic theory, economics focuses not on the level of the variable it investigates, but on their change from one situation to another. Empirically, the world that is studied by economists is always subject to continuous and profound change. And check out these next few words. On the institutional level, structural level, technological level, economic and social level, okay? So if you think about that, when you're looking at a real life situation, and this is one of your 9 pillars of your studies, like these are the things that are constantly floating in your mind as you're reading all of the theory, learning all of the theory, and looking at real life situations. It's like, is this changing something? You know, is this adaptation or this innovation or this decision by a government leading to systemic change, whether that be technological, institutional, economic, or social. It's a really important lens through which to look at real life situations. Okay. 2 more to go. Interdependence. That means interdependence. That means what one person does affects the other, and what that person does affects me. You don't have to think too hard when you talk about climate change, right? Climate change is without borders. Climate change is without borders. Pandemics, global pandemics like the coronavirus are without borders. So we are all of our decisions are interdependent on the decisions of other people. And that's another lens through which we're going to look at real life situations. So individuals, communities, and nations are not self-sufficient. Consumers, companies, households, workers, and governments, all economic actors, interact with each other within and increasingly across nations in order to achieve economic goals. So what happens in one country affects another country. The greater the level of interaction, the greater will be the degree of interdependence. Pretty cool. In a highly interdependent economic world, decisions by certain economic actors are likely to generate many and often unintended economic consequences for other actors. Super interesting. Actors, economic actors. Dude, don't get fumbled up by economic jargon. An economic actor is me. An economic actor is Apple Computer Company. An economic actor is the government of Zimbabwe. An economic actor is a farmer in Tanzania. All of us are contributing to an economy somewhere, and we are the actors that are playing out this play that happens inside a country, which we call an economy, okay? A consideration of possible economic consequences of interdependence is essential when conducting economic analyses, for sure. Okay, so that is scarcity, choice, efficiency, equity, economic well-being, sustainability, change, interdependence. That's 8. One more, and it is intervention. In economics, when someone's talking about intervening, they're almost talking about the government intervening. Get this in your head. You know when all life's good and all of a sudden, like, you know, some adult in your life like intervenes and tells you you can't do something and you're like, wait, what? Okay, that's intervention. So governments intervene in taxes, governments intervene in changing interest rates, governments intervene in environmental standards, intervene in working conditions, intervene in minimum wages. They're constantly intervening in the lives of the citizens, okay? And that's what's meant by intervention in economics, okay? So let's go through the terms and then we're done. Intervention is economics, usually refers to government involvement in the workings of markets. While markets are considered the most efficient mechanism to organize economic activity, it is recognized that they may fail to achieve certain societal goals such as, check it, equity, economic well-being, or sustainability. Hey man, those are like some of the other 9 central concepts of IB economics. Of course they are, right? And the government is the central actor, parent in a country. They own the country. Literally, governments own a piece of land, just like parents own a house, and they get to decide what happens. And they're responsible for the well-being. Parents are responsible for the well-being of their children, just like governments are responsible for the well-being of their children, which are citizens, us, okay? Failure to achieve such goals may be considered sufficient reason for government intervention. In the real world, there is often disagreement among economists and policymakers on the need for and extent of government intervention. There is considerable debate about the merits of intervention versus the free markets, and this is just the same. And I want you to understand this right now. You understand economics at its core, simplest thing. And if you want to talk about government intervention, which is a major theme throughout all of your studies, all you have to do is think about how you feel about your parents intervening in your life or not intervening in your life, right? When you're in a time of need, you probably want your parents' help. But now as a 17, 18-year-old kid, like, you know, if things are well, you're just like, hey, man, get out of my face. I don't need your help. So if you translate that over to society, governments are the parents, citizens are the children, and when there's good economic times, people want the government to get out of their face, right? I'm good, man. Everything's good. What are you doing? But if you find yourself in hard economic times, or your overall income is way below the other people around, you want the government to help you because you need them, okay? And that is the understanding of intervention, and you understand, inherently you understand economics. And I just want you to keep reminding you of that, because you are a person, economics is a study of human beings, and your decisions are what we study, okay? Excellent, so the 9 central concepts are you ready? Let's go through them one last time. Scarcity, choice, efficiency, equity, economic well-being, sustainability, change, interdependence, and the last one, of course, is intervention. All right? Excellent. There we go, my friends. And we're rolling on to the next video.